Have you ever heard of a god who was torn into 42 pieces and still came back to life? Or of a goddess who faced the night, claws out to protect humanity? Egyptian mythology isn't just a bunch of statues locked away in museums. It's a dramatic epic of betrayal, family feuds, resurrection, and secrets that shaped entire civilizations. For centuries, these stories were told in temples carved in stone and whispered in rituals passed down through generations. But what most people don't know is that behind these gods lies a deep reflection of what it means to be human. And today you'll understand why this mythology is still alive, not in books, but in the emotions, archetypes, and symbols that surround us. In the beginning, before the sky or earth even existed, there was only a vast, silent ocean of chaos. Nothing had form, nothing made sense, until, from within that endless void, Ben-Ben emerged, a sacred mound shaped like a pyramid. Picture it. From atop this mound, resting inside a lotus flower, came Ra, the first god, the bringer of light. With him came not only sunlight, but the very idea of order, cycles, and time. It was as if the universe, upon seeing him, finally realized what it was meant to be. Ra didn't need a partner or tools, just his own divine essence to create the first gods. This is how Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture and rain, were born. They were cast into the primordial waters to explore its vastness, and their delay in returning caused Ra such distress that his tears turned into human beings. It's poetic to think that, for the ancient Egyptians, humanity was born from divine longing. Makes you wonder, are we too driven by our own longing? The return of Shu and Tefnut brought relief, but also triggered the expansion of the cosmos. Together they gave birth to Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. And from this forbidden union, tension between destiny and control was born. Ra, the creator of all things, began to fear what was to come. And here, without realizing it, he paved the way for a new conflict. The very gods he created were about to challenge his sovereignty. And this is where the divine saga truly begins. Against the will of the great Ra, Geb and Nut, earth and sky, followed the most ancient instinct of all, to create life. And from this rebellious act, a generation emerged that would change everything. Osiris, Isis, Nephthys, and Seth weren't just elemental offspring. They were the archetypes of forces that would shape the world's destiny. Osiris represented order and fertility, Isis love and magic, while Seth embodied chaos and ambition. This mythology was starting to look a lot like human history. Ra, now old and suspicious, was overthrown. And in the creator's place, Osiris took the throne, the benevolent god who taught humans how to plant, harvest, weave, and even bake bread. He ruled not through fear or punishment, but through wisdom and civilization. His reign was like an eternal spring, bringing hope to mankind and balance to the world. But every spring, sooner or later, attracts a storm, and that storm already had a name: Seth. While Osiris led the people with compassion, his brother saw the throne as something stolen, a deep wound. And like any great drama, divine or human, jealousy, resentment, and ambition were beginning to simmer behind the scenes. It was only a matter of time before the first betrayal took place, and when it came, it would spare no one, not even family. Tensions between the brothers finally exploded when Seth discovered that Osiris had slept with his wife, Nephthys, though through disguise and confusion. To Seth, it wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. And gods, like humans, know how to let grudges grow in silence until they become monsters. So he crafted a subtle and cruel revenge, a feast, a trap, and a sarcophagus custom-made. The curtain of tragedy was about to fall. In the middle of the celebration, in front of everyone, Seth proposed a game. Whoever fit perfectly into the beautifully crafted coffin could keep it. Naive and generous, Osiris accepted the challenge. The moment he lay inside, Seth slammed the lid shut and sealed the fate of the God King. He threw the coffin into the Nile, turning the sacred river into a stage for grief. It was the first great blow to divine order, and a trauma that would echo for generations. Isis, devastated, began a desperate search for her beloved's body. When she finally found it and tried to protect it, Seth discovered it once again and, in a fit of brutal rage, cut Osiris into 42 pieces and scattered them across Egypt. Each piece carried a fragment of the world's story, and while Isis, with the help of Anubis, worked to gather the fragments and restore Osiris, something even greater was taking shape in the shadows. Something that would bear the name Horus. Driven by a love that defied even death, Isis didn't rest until she had collected every piece of Osiris. With the help of Anubis, god of the dead, she performed the first embalming ritual in history, and with her divine power, achieved the unthinkable. She brought Osiris back to life. But not among the living. He would now reign over the underworld, becoming the judge of souls and lord of the afterlife. It was the end of one era, and the beginning of another. From this supernatural reunion, a new god was born, Horus, the rightful heir to the celestial throne. He wasn't just the child of sorrow, he was the child of promise, justice, and hope. From the moment of his birth, he was destined for a mission far beyond personal revenge, to restore balance to the universe. Imagine the pressure of being born with a fate already written in the stars. Horus could not fail. His name carried the light that was meant to replace the darkness left by Seth. As he grew up, hidden and protected by Isis, Horus trained, listened to stories about his father, and nurtured within himself the fire of restoration. Each lesson, each memory, became a reminder of what was at stake. It wasn't just about a lost throne. It was about healing a broken legacy, a wounded civilization. And when the time finally came to rise, Horus did not hesitate. Because he knew the real battle was just beginning. The story had reached its boiling point. Horus, now a grown god, raised his voice before the divine tribunal to claim the throne that had been stolen from him. Seth, the usurper, refused to back down, and the two began a series of seemingly endless confrontations. The gods, divided, called for a divine court to settle the matter. But even immortals have their biases, and Ra, the ancient creator, still favored Seth, who protected him during his nightly journey through the underworld. The rivalry took unusual turns. In one of the challenges, both gods had to transform into hippos and remain submerged for 3 months. Meanwhile, Isis tried to help her son, but when she spared Seth in a moment of hesitation, she enraged Horus. In a moment of uncontrollable anger, the falcon god cut off his own mother's head. A symbolic and controversial act, casting a shadow on his image as the perfect hero. But even wounded, Isis wouldn't abandon her greater mission. The battles continued, some physical, others psychological. In one act of treachery, Seth tried to sexually dominate Horus to disgrace him, but Horus, clever, turned the tables. With Isis's help, he contaminated Seth's food and tricked him, humiliating the chaos god before all. Only then, after 80 long years, did the divine court finally grant Horus the throne that was rightfully his. And Isis, with tears of pride, saw her son restore balance to the heavens and earth. With justice restored, Horus assumed the throne as the divine pharaoh. But instead of destroying Seth, he made a more strategic move. He condemned the former enemy to accompany Ra on his nightly journey through the underworld, protecting the sun god's boat from Apophis. This decision didn't just punish Seth, it gave him a purpose. The god of chaos was now a defender of light, a cosmic irony only mythology can deliver. From that point on, Horus reigned with wisdom and strength, becoming the divine ancestor of all the pharaohs to follow. With every new royal lineage, Horus's name was invoked as a symbol of legitimacy and divine right. Egyptian civilization, now in balance, flourished with temples, laws, and rituals honoring this mythological past. The sky was calm, the earth fertile, but the Egyptian heavens held more than just this resolved conflict. Because Egypt's gods aren't just characters in an ancient drama, they're living archetypes, symbolic forces that continue to echo in human imagination. And now that the main saga had ended, it was time to zoom in on the ones who stood behind the story. Gods like Ra, Anubis, and Bastet, each with mysteries of their own. Ra wasn't just the first god, he was the moving sun itself, crossing the sky during the day and facing the darkness at night. Every evening, as twilight fell, he would dive into the underworld aboard his solar bark, passing through 12 gates, each representing 1 hour of the night. It was a perilous journey, where he had to face Apophis, the serpent of chaos, who sought to devour the light. One day, she almost succeeded, what the Egyptians called a solar eclipse. But even after being swallowed, Ra returned at dawn, renewing the cycle of life. On this mission, he had an unexpected ally, Seth, his former enemy. Defeated on Earth, the god of chaos found redemption in the depths, becoming the protector of the solar bark. Balance was preserved not by eliminating evil, but by strategically coexisting with it. A reminder that even our own shadows can serve the light. Ra was so revered that his name was fused with other gods: Amun-Ra, Atum-Ra, Aten-Ra. He was the embodiment of divine authority. Pharaohs like Ramses carried his name as a seal of divinity. The sun wasn't just a star, it was a visible god, a daily proof that the divine still walked among mortals. But while Ra illuminated the skies, another god ruled the silence of the tombs, the enigmatic Anubis. With the head of a jackal and eyes that pierced unseen realms, Anubis was the guardian of the path between this world and the next. His origin was controversial, born of betrayal, from the union of Nephthys and Osiris under disguise. Even so, he became essential in the divine order. He was the one who helped Isis reassemble Osiris's body, creating the first mummy in history. In doing so, death ceased to be an end. It became a transition. In funerary rites, priests wearing jackal masks reenacted the sacred acts of Anubis. He was the guide of souls, the Egyptian psychopomp, leading the dead to the scales of truth. There, the heart was weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of justice. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was devoured by Ammit. But if it was light, Anubis would guide the righteous to Osiris, where true eternal life began. A surprisingly moral theology for such an ancient culture. During the Greek and Roman rule of Egypt, Anubis merged with Hermes, creating Hermanubis, a hybrid deity who also guided souls. This shows how his figure transcended time, remaining alive in mystical traditions even today. But while Anubis guided the dead, another goddess watched over the living, and her feline eyes still shine in stories. Bastet, with the body of a woman and the head of a cat, was the guardian of homes, families, and harmony. In a world riddled with chaos, she offered softness and protection. During the day, she accompanied Ra on the solar boat. At night, she transformed into a fierce feline, battling Apophis with sharp claws and eyes that saw through the darkness. Bastet embodied the balance between gentleness and strength, the purr of calm and the roar of instinct. Cats, her sacred animals, were treated as full family members. There were cemeteries for them, mummification rituals, and stories of felines saving their owners from fires. Egyptians believed cats had 9 lives, perhaps because Bastet revived them in flames, symbols of eternity. Harming a cat in ancient Egypt was a crime punishable by death. That's how revered this feline goddess was. Some say Bastet and Sekhmet were 2 sides of the same entity, one wild, the other tamed, both, however, daughters of Ra. And to this day, when a cat stares into the void, many believe it sees what we cannot, perhaps waiting silently for the day its goddess is honored once again, that have outlived kingdoms. Bastet. So tell me, what would you do if you knew there's a symbolic war happening inside you every single day? Between Ra and Apophis, between Horus and Seth? Are you letting the light reign, or have you been feeding the serpents of chaos? The stories you heard today are more than myths. They're mirrors. Mirrors of internal battles, hard choices, and the eternal search for purpose. Now it's your turn. Which of these gods do you identify with the most? What part of this saga resonated with you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to keep diving into the forgotten mysteries of history, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because in the next episodes, we'll uncover the secret that inspired the creation of angels.